Curt, welcome to FireLab Session Number Four. You're in the
Ooh.
first legendary 10, and I'm super stoked to talk to you because I think you're one of the hidden geniuses of the marketing world.
So just to be clear, I'm in one of your top 10 podcasts?
Yes,
Yeah, that's the way I like to
you're
rank
on the
that.
top 10 podcasts, and you clearly don't care about how good you are at what you do because I just complimented you, and you either didn't receive it or
I received it.
you received it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
felt like you
yeah.
received it. That's not something I throw around. So, can you give how much money in ad spend have you managed at this point?
Over $100 million pretty easily. I mean, I haven't
Pretty easy.
calculated in a long time, but if we're doing, 10 to 15 a million a month, kind of depends on what month.
Wait, so you're managing 10 to 15 million a month?
Well, it kind of all depends what's going on, what clients launching, what they're doing. Let's do 10 to 15 million, let's say a year. Month
Uh,
makes it really hard. Like there are some months that probably honestly I don't want to say $10 million months are a regular thing. Like that's like Black Friday, Christmas, multiple clients. Like that's when you're really hitting it hard. But I mean, at least $100 million. I mean, I've been doing this for 18 years. So easily.
you must really like it to keep doing it for that
Dude, I
long.
love it. I
What
don't
do
know if
you-
you know this. Have you ever heard me talk about this? Like I love to talk about AI and meta marketing. You know, I have a PhD in this stuff, right?
what do you mean?
I say this on stage when I speak all the time. It's called a public high school diploma.
Yeah.
I love that I can figure stuff out, get paid more than a lawyer and a doctor combined, and never have gone to medical school or lawyer school or any of that stuff. So love it.
How much money have you made your clients? If you've been managing, like, say, 100 million.
One client appeared on Shark Tank. We've worked with lots of people on Shark Tank. We worked with them when they were at 1.5 million. They just crossed 100 million.
Make this practical for me. I don't even know how to calculate that.
I mean, we work with people who are just starting out, who have an idea, people who are spending, $100 a day and they want to be an internet marketer. We have some really interesting clients. Like I'm super excited. So I'll make this really easy. Dane, you and I have known each other for a long time. There are a lot of hippies in the world who are like, oh my God, all I want to do is help the world. And I'm like, oh, specifically, how are you going to do that? They're just like, I'm going to love light all over the place. Great. I don't even know what that means. But I get to work with really smart people and I get to enhance their vision. So there's a therapist to the royal family and who helps out rock stars and has helped hundreds of thousands of people overcome depression. And we get to take her personality online. So I get to take my smarts and enhance what these people
Wow.
do that without giving away a name, you guys kind of figured out one of the world's top FBI negotiators is coming out with his own bourbon. He's world renowned and I'm writing the scripts for him to get on video and what to tell people to sell more of his $25,000 mastermind. Like I couldn't even dream of these types of things. So if I can put together some great personalities and some of my talents, like we get to make a big difference in the world. It's really exciting.
So you're not able to say the name for the negotiator guy?
Yeah, it'll be public next week. So yeah, it's Chris Voss from Never Split the
Never
Difference.
split the difference. Don't ever talk to him about anything because it'll never work.
I'm negotiating anything.
I met that guy. I was just scared looking at him.
Uh-huh.
So
Really smart.
very smart. So how many times in the 18 years of you doing the ad game have you wanted to quit?
Every other week.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it gets super stressful, kind of depending on a lot of these are like relationships. It requires a lot of communication. And when communication breaks down and animosity starts to hit, it's just like a breakup. And if you get into it with a client long enough, and when it like that breakup happens, it can be really bad.
Because it's over money.
Well, it's over money and it's over emotions. And when money's lacking, it's over blame and who did X, Y, and Z and who's pointing fingers. It's a total relationship.
What's the worst thing a client's ever told you?
Sometimes I like to be more right than I like to be rich. So there are a couple of times where I'd be on the teetering with clients and I'd send off an email like, hey, you son of a bitch. And they're like, hey, you know what? We know what the real problem is. And I just kind of calling them out for some of their issues. I was probably a little bit more direct than I should. There was one client, she used to yell at her staff on a regular basis and she was completely disrespectful. And then she yelled at my staff one day. So I figured, let's just kind of play this up a little bit. And it's a negotiating tactic. And her next staff member that came in, I just railed on him because that's the way she treats everyone else. And then she called me and basically said she's never worked with someone who was so unprofessional, treated people so poorly. But there's reviews of her all over online on how bad she treats her employees. So like, usually I don't get that personal into it. Like we've had interesting experiences.
Yeah, but I mean, when you say 18 years, I know there's some French
There's
stories.
lots of
French.
I know where lots of bodies are buried in this industry. Like when people stand on stage and tell a story and I look over at my buddy and I'm like, that never happened.
Dude,
I
actually,
was there.
now that you mention it, like 18 years managing ads, I don't know if I know anybody that's made it that long. Is there
Honestly,
anybody?
3, 4, 5 people. I mean, not 3, 4, 5 people, but probably in our friend group, there's 3 or 4 or 5.
It's amazing because Mind Valley, like they couldn't figure their ad game out,
I talked to them.
and then you fix their ad game.
I'm not necessarily say I fixed their ad game, but they thought they had a bigger problem than where it was. I looked in the data and pointed to a different direction. Sometimes people just don't know where to look. You do this really great with questions with businesses. Sometimes people just don't know where to look at the data, and like it's standing right in front of you and you know where to look. And it's like, man, you guys make how much money a year and you didn't notice this one thing?
I'm launching a SaaS with Zion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we were just passionately ranting about it the other day. And I was like, you know what it is? No data, no power.
Yeah.
That's it. No data, no power. I want to make those shirts. No data, no power.
Yeah.
What's your sleep data? What's your caloric data? Like data everywhere. Like it's not even business data. Like there's no data, no power.
I watched this documentary on relationships, and there was this one guy on there talking about how he likes to do his biohacking, like worse than Brian Johnson, right? This guy has like 45 different calculations for every little thing, whatever. And we're kind of talking about his life and 4 other biohackers like this. And I'm like, that's really interesting. And then at the end, they're like, so what's it like living like this? And he's like, it's really lonely. It's like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm tracking everything, but I don't really talk to anybody. And when I go out dating, they don't understand all my data. I'm really lonely right now. And I will never forget that. It's like data's really powerful. Sometimes you can get so into it that you are so alienated and you're on your island by yourself. And I'm like, I like data, but I don't want to be by myself like that.
I can get pretty obsessed with success and forget about humans for a while.
You're really good about the human touch though.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see that, but you're really good, I think, about keeping. So what I like about our relationship is like, I've known you for over a decade. I want to say it's like close to 14 years, 13 or 14 years. Yeah, but when I know somebody for over a decade, I remember meeting your staff when we were at Evan Pagan's event and you were going through a breakup in one of your first businesses and it wasn't going well. And I talked to all your employees. And I remember what you did next and your other business partner did next. We worked together for a little bit, but I get to see a long term. And that's really how you see how people treat people. So I could see you be obsessed with success, but I couldn't see you be obsessed with success for more than like an hour without thinking about the human touch.
That's actually true.
Because you have big heart and you really care about other people.
That's true. Nobody exists. Yeah. So I'm really excited to get into the dice session with you. We'll roll the dice here. And before I do that, I just want to say a couple things and get your perspective on them for people listening. And the first is that I believe that abundance and prosperity really can be a birthright and is a birthright for all of us, and that none of us deserve to financially suffer. That being said, I think there are probably many qualities that make it more conducive to receive. And the first would be patience.
Absolutely.
And we're not talking about, it's not like a miserable level of patience, but it definitely, when I do the dice session, I just want to call out to, you'll watch me be very quiet. You'll watch me be very patient, because I think patience is where the profit is.
Yeah.
The second is that it will be much easier to receive if you have the skill of focus. I said skill, not quality, because skill means it's trainable. Now, the kind of focus I'm talking about is keep your eye on the ball for 15 minutes at a time without a break. I do have actually 3 rules of marketing that I want to run by you, because you're the very, very experienced marketer here, and then we'll do the dice. One of my friends just kept making these really terrible ads, just terrible ads, just all the time terrible ads. He just keep showing me these ads. I'm like, oh God. And finally I just got so fed up one day and I was like, bro, listen, there's 3 rules of marketing, all right? Don't scare people, don't confuse people, and don't overestimate where they are. Okay, let's look at your ad. Personal Transformation Summit. Nobody knows what that means. Super confusing. You already broke the first rule. All right, let's look at the next line of the ad. Go within to find inner peace. Dude, go within? Nobody wants to go within their own mind. That scares the crap out of people to go within. You just scared everybody. You already broke the 2 rules of marketing in the first 2 lines. Now let's look at the next one. Don't overestimate where they are. Help them achieve inner peace. Dude, they don't even have they're not thinking about inner peace. They just want to feel like a little bit less anxious. You way overshot them.
2 out of 3 I agree with you on.
Okay, tell me more.
Do we talk about politics?
Just give me a 60-second answer.
So long story short, there was a guy who got elected president who did a lot of direct response marketing. He was the first direct response marketer who had ever was elected president a couple elections ago. And a bunch of research was done around it. A bunch of documentaries came out around this. And basically what it found out was the more educated person doesn't vote. The angriest person votes. The more angry you can make the population, the more that they'll move in the polls. So a lot of times anger will actually move people forward in ways that information not necessarily will. Now that's the dark side of marketing. One of the things that I talk about a lot is ethical propaganda. There's a lot of us that have belief systems, and you know this as well. There's a lot of people that have belief systems that were like, where did that originate from? It actually originated from marketers at the end of the day, controlling and pulling strings of emotions to get us to do things. So anger, you don't want to confuse people. Totally agree. You want to make sure your message is clear. Anger is like a superpower that when used incorrectly, it can literally topple governments. When used correctly, people will buy the right type of medication to make sure that they survive the next fill in the blank, whatever you want to call it. So anger is an interesting thing to tap into, and it's really taboo to mess with that too much. I like to be on the complete opposite side of that. I used to work for I'll make this real quick, a U.S. presidential candidate. And literally just watching their marketing behind the politics is like, I'm going to wash my body in still wool, and I will never do this again, ever. So
It's actually nasty.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah, it's gross. Long story short,
they're hyper intelligent and they know what they're doing.
People will raise $5 just so they can raise $1. They'll get people to contribute money just so more people will give them $1, so it looks like that they have more donations that get them on the presidential election debate stage.
I didn't follow that. What are you saying?
You have to have something. I don't remember what the number is. It's something like 200,000 individual donations. So they'll run politicians will run ads where they're spending $5 to generate $1 just so they can get on the presidential debate stage.
Where's the $5 coming from? Who's paying for that?
Raising money, them getting on the phones and getting the big donors.
All right. It's time for Dice.
I'm very excited.
Okay. So as we're starting Dice, what I'm going to do is I want to start by saying the intention for us talking today is really to find an area of constraint or pain in your day-to-day life, wherever it seems to be most acute, and see if we can't, through your own heart, facilitate the creation of a dream product or solution to that pain that you'd be so excited to have that you'd actually want to pay for.
Sounds amazing.
Sounds amazing. What sounds amazing about that?
Well, I'm working on lots of different projects right now that we're going in lots of different directions with this whole AI thing, like things I couldn't do 2 years ago that I can do right now. It's literally, as long as we can have conversations like this, push of a button, a couple of days later, some amazing things start to happen. So I'm very, very interested.
I'm excited to hear your reply. Because, you know, a part of me usually gets like a little bit nervous. I'm like, oh, is this going to be acceptable to say? But I hold my breath and I say it and I wait to see what you think. And that's really important. So that's the intention. So through that, we may or may not find that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I hope to do more than anything is just have the whole conversation be a blessing to you, so that you just leave feeling really served no matter what happens. That's the whole intention. So I did a session with our good friend David Gonzalez. He said like 3/4 of the way through that he was feeling really guilty. And I was like, why? He's like, because I'm getting so much value from this that I feel like I should pay for it, but I don't want to. And I was like, well, you don't have to. It's a Dice session. But it started making me realize, I was like, yikes, these Dice sessions are actually pretty damn valuable consulting sessions too. So I hope that it actually helps map some things for you. So what I want to do is I'm going to start. Dice is discover, innovate, create, and then enroll.
Okay.
And so with discover, what we're going to be looking at is just pains and constraints and even maybe desires that you're having. For innovate, we're going to look at those pains and innovate them into what your dream situation would look like and how that dream situation would work. And then C, for creation, we're going to look at what would be like the least amount, but still valuable product that would be a good version 1.0 for you. And then enrollment, we just talk about how you would go, the relationship to how you would value it and price it so we can come to a really fair, mutually beneficial price.
Sounds great.
Cool. So for D and discovery, can you tell me, I have two directions I could go. You tell me which direction you think feels more beneficial. First is we could do a before, during, and after landscape of all the things you're doing to manage your clients. Or we could do a before, during, and after landscape on a particular new use case you have with clients where there may be more potential? Like, where would you feel more?
So I have three main parts of my business. The first business that I have is I train people, education, right, for teaching people how to do Facebook ads. I love that. So really key indicator here. The more ads that I run for our digital products, the more people remember my face because I've been doing this forever. They start seeing me again. I get speaking gigs. I get invited to this. I get agency leads. So not only do I get leads and sales into my digital products, but it waterfalls onto everything else I'm about ready to tell you. So that's my digital product business. Here, do-it-yourself, digital trainings. There's some software that can be made in there. There's some ways I can manage those people. Basically, I like to get thousands of people through this process. I've been teaching this for 15 years, and there's some really unique opportunities to grow and scale there. I love to teach. So model number one. Model number two is something called a 90-day sprint. The 90-day sprint, honestly, is probably where we're making about 70% of our cash right now. And I really want to get into those stats with you here in a minute. That's one of my biggest opportunities is the 90-day sprint. The third thing that I have is full agency services. So someone needs to be spending $20,000 a month or more in ad spend, means they have a proven product. Then they're going to pay my agency $5,000 to test their idea. And we're going to test the idea with $10,000 in about a 30-day period. So if someone wants to test with me, you have to be willing to spend $15,000 out of the gate. And that's not everyone. So the middle product of the 90-day sprint is, hey, Dane, instead of you spending $10,000 to test with a full staff, I never did email follow-up before. I consulted on funnels. I didn't build funnels. I didn't do the video sales letters. I didn't do any of that. I just ran ads. But now with AI, I can do that in 20 minutes. So I have these 90-day sprints now that almost everyone I talk to about it, they're like, oh, I know three people who do it right now. And that is, hey, Dane, for 90 days, I'm going to walk you through three phases. I'm going to either build, or I'm going to test, or I'm going to scale during the 90 days. So if I'm building, we could be working on your sales funnel and we're not running ads. If we're testing, we're running ads. The goal, Dane, is to take your product and to get you to $1,000 a day in profitable spend, and then we'll move you over to the agency. But there are
The goal is to do what?
$1,000 a day in ad spend profitably. And that means you're spending about $30,000 a month, and that qualifies you for the agency.
That's badass.
But here's the deal. I don't share these numbers publicly, so might as well. The profit margin for our typical classical agency at the level number 3 is anywhere between an 8 to 12% profit margin. Margins are pretty thin. A lot of staff, overhead.
On the $5K a month, $500 from that?
So the agency typically with employees and overhead and everything else. Now, I have an agreement where I partner with my younger brother where the margins are a little bit thicker that comes to me because of our agreement, because he's used to charging a lower rate. I charge a higher rate. I can make my own margin, so that's easy. But here's the thing with the 90-day sprint. I just looked over our last 7 months, and I wish I was making these numbers up, but this is true. We're at 89 to 93% profit margin when we do these 90-day sprints. Now I just need to look at scale. That's my fourth biggest project, is scaling 90-day sprints with a possible certification for media buyers. I want to do something kind of what Cole Gordon does, where I can bring in people who are super interested in these sprints and something I call micro budgets. Lots of people want to test in the 90-day sprint. In 72 hours, I can tell you if your ads are working because of micro budgets. So I run these things called micro budgets where I spend $20 a day to get baseline metrics. So if you're with an ad agency, you got to spend $10,000 to figure out your metrics. I can spend $60 in 3 days and tell you if your ad creative's working or not. So in these 90-day sprints, I can tell people in 3 days if their ads are working, in 5 days if their offer's working. I'll help you build, or I'll help you test, and I'll get you ready for scale.
I feel like you just told me we're going to Disneyland.
People come to me all the time and they're like, Curt, these micro budgets, yeah, it works for small people. And I go, no, I spend over $20,000 a day with these micro budgets. And I sit down and I look at accounts. Someone just asked me this in my group of community, and someone's like, but these micro budgets still work. And I'm like, I've been doing this for 18 years. A lot of the strategies that I used to run accounts years ago still work today. This is a strategy that still works today. So I logged into 10 completely different client accounts to show, here's how I spend $100 a day. Here's how I spend $500. Here's how I spend $20,000. But if you know, basically, here's what I know about you. If you know your numbers in business, it's easy for you to look at another business and know exactly what's wrong with the numbers. So I don't need thousands of numbers to make a good decision.
Hmm.
Once you understand the patterns, you look at the numbers, you're like, hey man, I only need $40 to do this. People challenge me all the time. I turn around my computer, I open up the ad accounts, I point right to it, and people are like, yeah, that makes a lot of common sense. We have so many leads that are coming in for our 90-day sprint because of our digital ads. I'm going to train ad buyers for 10 weeks on how I'm doing it, but I'm going to let them gamble with my money first. So I've already set a bunch of money to the side where I'm going to give these new ad buyers who sign up for my 10-week certification, I'm going to give them money to start running ads in my ad account so I can make sure that they know how to run micro budgets before I put them into client accounts. So just by people running ads to my brand, it's the champagne waterfall that makes all the other leads work anyway. So if I can have someone test on their dime or on my dime, once they graduate, I'll move them over to a client and I'll start paying them directly. And I'll have a certification around it. So basically, as long as I keep my marketing running, I could literally scale this to a couple of hundred clients without employees. And I would give the ad buyer the lion's share of the money. And all they'd have to do is hit the buttons. They can manage. I want to be the bread and butter for other agency owners or their staff, meaning everyone's looking for a $5,000 or $10,000 deal, but there's a lot more people out there who want to test an idea. So if I can work with another ad buyer, show them my strategy, bring in paying clients, I'll pay another ad buyer $1,500 a month to work 5 to 7 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Stack 3, 4, 5 of those clients up, easily make bread and butter, $7,500 a month. So I can really scale if I really lean into this fourth option of certified media buyers for the 90-day sprints.
Okay. So back me up. How in the world did you arrive to this strategy? How does your brain work? Were you thinking, how do I replace myself? Were you thinking, how do I achieve scale? Were you thinking, what happened here for you to create this kind of like quasi McDonald's franchise model that's got zero financial risk? Well, a little bit, but not much.
Right?
How did your brain strategize to
I love you. I love your questions. You ask great questions. I have a PhD in this stuff, PhD in AI, PhD in marketing, right? Public high school diploma. The older that I get, I just turned 47 last week. The older that I get, and
Happy
I tell
birthday,
friends like
bro.
this, thank you very much. But I tell people this all the time, and you know this as you get older. The older that we get, the better questions that we ask, the better that we receive. Again, you just asked some really good questions. So when AI first came out, I thought it was really interesting, right? Like the guys from Jasper AI, for example, right? They come out and I always explain it to people. I'm like, what's really interesting is Jasper AI to me was like Windows for AI, right? You had all these prompts that you can do, click on these buttons, it would help all these things happen. And then chat came out and completely changed their business. And chat was a blank canvas for you to ask any questions that you wanted. And the better questions that you could ask, the better results that you could get. So I'm like, wait a minute. Windows blew up in the, 80s, 90s, whatever, because people didn't know how to use computer code. Now we just kind of reversed that, where all of a sudden here's a blank canvas and literally you can create anything that you want instead of like Jasper having, hey, here are the buttons or the constraints that you should believe in. So I took this whole saying that I've been preaching for a long time. If I ask better questions, I'm going to get better things. So I started asking questions into AI and kind of hanging out with some of the people at AI. And for me, I like to think I get concepts really quick. I can move through lots of data very quick. Like if you and I are having a conversation, I'll start rubbing my index finger and we can move real quick through information. So I started processing a lot of information through AI. And all of a sudden I started talking to my friends on it and they're like, man, the way you think about this is really interesting. And before we never designed landing pages for clients in the agency because that took a lot of work. I'm not a copywriter. I don't have 50 copywriting books. But I can ask AI who the top 10 copywriters are in the survival niche. What would they think about this kind of copy for this product? And then show my product to the AI to write copy like what they're already doing. I don't need to know how to do it anymore as long as I ask the right questions. So all of a sudden, Dane, within 8 months, I'm looking at my business partner and I'm like, I don't remember the last time we had this much money in our checking account. Like, right? Like we can just go out and buy a house for cash, right? And it's like, well, how do we do it? And we started talking about this over the last 6 weeks. It's like, we've just been so busy and things have just started to happen. We look over our shoulder and we're like, dude, when's the last time you, literally this happened last week. Dude, have you seen our P&L lately? He's like, man, I haven't looked at that thing in like 9 months. And I go, yeah, I don't either. Money comes in and we hit payroll and like, as long as it's enough there, we're totally fine and whatever. But we look at the payroll and I'm like, wait a minute, if we just take out our payroll and just look at expenses at the business, we're at a 94% operating margin. So that's kind of where it came from. It was like we were doing things so efficiently. So many people were coming in the 90-day sprint. So perfect example, someone's like, how do I design a video sales letter? Well, actually, there's this one friend of mine that has a prompt. We've already used AI to build out the avatar for this customer. Well, if I just marry the two together, I don't know how to write a video sales letter and direct a film team, but I send over the script to the film team and the film team's like, man, this is really great. I couldn't have done that a year ago. So moral of the story, it just came down to asking really good questions. We figured out the efficiencies that really worked a lot better. And then from there, we just, actually, let's just move this into a business.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
So of these opportunities you're working on, usually we use dice to look at constraints and remove pain from them, but we could use dice to actually add fire to your greatest opportunity.
Well, I'd love that. I want to have a room of 20 to 30 people that I can host in a house, not pay any of the hotel fees, any of that other stuff, cater people in, but we can have really deep conversations. So if I reverse engineer this, if I'm feeding people client deals and we're all working on some of the same things, we're now building a community, just like what you've done on the foundation. Now I can have quarterly events in Austin, not where I'm continually upselling to the next $25,000 mastermind, but if I can keep feeding people clients, just kind of make this up as a talking point. If someone maintains 6 clients for me a month, I'll pay for their $30,000 mastermind. They'll come down to Austin. I'll pay for everything. And it's a reverse way to engineer my perfect community that I can hang out. I want to collaborate with these guys anyway, but no one's throwing an event like this. And I don't want to throw high-end events where people have to put down big deposits if we're all making money together. Let's have an event and create a community where it makes it really sticky. So a lot of software involved in that process, I think could make it really sticky in a really great community where people are like, yeah, I'm not making 20 grand a deal, but dude, it's 5 minutes a day for $1,500.
Let me throw out a random question, and then we'll look at the before, during, and after context for your greatest opportunity and see if we can't just add fire to it.
Sounds great.
Since you're such a sophisticated business person, and I mean sophisticated in terms of like you actually have the skill set to execute, but you also have the data brain to analyze it. Most people don't have the skill to execute anything. And those who do have the skill to execute anything also refuse to look at their data. And you're doing both. So that's what I mean by sophisticated, just to be clear.
Thank you.
Yes. So because you have that, what I would like to ask are, if I was a genie and you knew I could do anything in the world, what would you give me money to solve right now today? And you could just list out those things, if anything.
Yeah, there's 3 big things. There's a software that I've been talking about creating for a while, which helps people get ready for their Facebook ads. And it's very, very simple. Like it's a 10-step process I've already created that has the prompts.
Facebook ads? What kind of people are we talking about here?
Pretty much anybody.
Business owner doing 100K a year kind of a thing?
Plumber, doesn't matter. Anybody.
Interesting.
Anybody.
Just an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Hey, I want to get ready for Facebook ads. Cool. Follow these 15 steps. You'll be ready.
Okay. Software that gets entrepreneurs who want to advertise.
That's probably a good way to say it. Because basically what ends up happening is a lot of people build their site, but they don't advertise, they don't research their avatar and stuff like that. Well, if you follow my 15...
Let's say entrepreneurs want to get more customers.
Yeah.
More leads, more sales. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So software gets entrepreneurs who want to get more leads and more sales ready for their Facebook ads in a 10 to 15 step process.
Yep.
Great.
Because basically you answer a couple of questions to create an avatar, it analyzes your sales page already, gives you an idea if you're even targeting the right person. And we have some of these manual prompts already written out for GPT. Basically the goal is my original goal is people could just copy and paste these prompts into different GPTs to get different answers it builds out an entire marketing plan of like, here's who you should be talking to, here's the positioning. But now with AI's deep research that's come out,
oh God.
Dang. One of my favorite things to do is one of my clients hasn't been making money on her webinar the last like 6 times and she won't change what she says in the webinar. So I'm like, okay, let's just go ahead and take the webinar, put it in deep research and said, who should be watching this? What would the biggest value come from the people who should be watching this? What are the emotional triggers of the people who should be watching this? How would we write ads for people who should be watching this?
So good.
And every time before, 2 years ago, I'd slam my head on the table being like, I don't know how to help this client. Now I go to the client and I'm like, oh, okay. Actually, you're speaking to a different avatar. You said you wanted this, but this is who you're speaking to. So we should write these ads. Now we have a 60% opt-in rate for the registration page versus 30.
What was the person before and the person after? Can you say the ICPs? The ideal client profile?
So we were going after these influential women, and basically what it was is on mindset. So we're going after these influential women on mindset, but we're using, without revealing the exact phrasing, kind of what you said before, some open, flowery language of how
confusing stuff.
It brought money chasers. So it didn't bring females who were entrepreneurs who had a high net worth. It brought people who thought that they could make wealth. So then they went through a whole rebrand and they used these dark, rich colors, and they couldn't figure out why men were showing up to their webinar and I only targeted women. And so what ends up happening is ran that through research, basically found out that this is very strong masculine colors. And that's why so many men were showing up. So we had to reverse the colors, reverse what the copy said to realign. But yeah, what they originally thought was their customer. So what ends up happening is with the deep research, to go back to the original question, with the deep research, I can do a lot more research for my marketing. So I'll give you a perfect example. Is we have a client that has this medical device that puts out tones through the body, and it's been researched for years. It's called a PEMF device. It's this personal device. There's lots of people who sell it on the market. I don't need to know how to sell it. I want to know how other companies are selling it, what they're not tapping into, and what's more of a blue ocean that we can market towards versus what all the other PEMF devices are doing. 6 minutes later, deep research is like, target this category, target these types of people. So it's super agile. So the software that I'm talking about here, I can show people, let's analyze, let's look at your avatar, who you think it is. Let's take a look at your website, which you already have because you don't know anything about copy. Once you analyze that into the market, let's kind of figure out who your tone is. Now let's just write 10 Facebook ads, 10 Google ads. You just have to hit the button for like Google. So what ends up happening is you walk away with this creative brief that's like 50 pages long, tells you more about your avatar, your market, your marketing, and then it gives you literally copy and paste headlines, long form post, videos to record. So it's a creative brief. So you can literally just plug it in. And then I like to talk about my micro budgets for low testing, but that's software that can help anybody get started, have a really good understanding with their market, and know exactly what to do next in their marketing.
Would you say this is a software that helps just about anybody become a top 1% marketer?
Yeah, it's a different way to look at it. Yeah. Yeah, because most people don't think through these things because they don't know. Like in real estate, I love working with real estate investors. I used to be a real estate investor, and people will come to me and they're like, man, I made so much money on my first deal. And I knew that they were going to take stupid risks on the next couple of deals. But when you talk to those investors who have lost money on 5 deals because they knocked down this one wall and they didn't know the cord and it's blah, 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 blah. And then you have those investors that make a lot of money because they can walk into a house and be like, I instantly know the 6 things I can change, the 2 things I can't. I know how fast the house is going to sell. It's just like, once you know your numbers, and I think that's what AI is giving us the advantage of. Like, I can see those numbers in ads and marketing very clearly, but I couldn't articulate what AI can now articulate to get people in the 1%. Now they actually have a plan versus relying on someone like me, and now it's fully written down for them.
Okay.
They'll have the plan, but then the second place comes to implement it, like you said before.
So that's one thing of the 3 that you mentioned, that if I was a genie and you could pay money to get something solved, it would be getting this thing live.
I bought your course because of that idea that I just shared with you.
Okay, cool.
That's originally why I did the course with you.
Awesome. What's the second of the 3?
The second of the 3 really would be software that would help all of these other media buyers in this, I've been fascinated with software for a long time. And
as you should be.
Dane, the biggest problem that I have with you is your software, because I tell my friends about you and they're like, well, what does Dane actually do? Well, he made money a long time ago that he still gets paid every single month, but then he works on other businesses, or maybe he works on his voice, or maybe he sings, or maybe he decides not to do anything. But I'm always want to make sure that I'm paying, rent and my bills, and I got other things coming up. I'm like, Dane just moves freely versus any other constraints. So I've always thought about software that way, because on the agency, I got to hire more people.
Yeah.
The 90-day sprint, there's some manual processes here, but you get to live a lifestyle of you're helping other people automatically and other people are managing it. And plus, it's the best sellable asset. The ad agency itself isn't really a sellable asset. This certification for agency owners, that's going to be cash flow. But if I have my name on it, it's not necessarily a sellable asset because we're going to use my brand to grow it. My digital products are all underneath my name. That's not a sellable asset. What we're talking about here would be the sellable asset.
Yeah. So early in my 20s, I came across some teachings, and it installed very deep in my mind this philosophy of, I will not move a finger unless that moving a finger has a shot at paying me for the next 10 years.
Yep. I remember you saying that. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep.
So someone asked me to come give a speech, or someone, and I was like, well, no, because that won't pay me for the next 10 years. So I said no to a ton of stuff. By the time I was 27, I had so much passive income.
Yep.
And I was like, dude, what do I've got nothing to do and all this money I'm making. This is kind of weird. It's like, if you told me that you only focused on playing ping pong for 10 years and you were watching ping pong videos and practicing ping pong and playing ping pong in 10 years, I wouldn't be surprised that you were really damn good at ping pong. That's how I got good at the passive income game.
Yeah.
I didn't get in passive income because I wanted to be lazy. I got in passive income because I was viciously intelligent about not wanting to risk my time. If something happened to me, I need money coming in. It was intelligence that drove for the passive income. And so you're not wrong to think about software. I often envision myself in like this $15, $25 million home overlooking like vast landscapes. And I'm just like working in my beautiful garage. And people are like, dude, how did you do this? And like, I've got tears in my eyes. I'm like, this is the life that software affords. Yep. This is the life that it can give, where you have that ease, because I've got 1,200 people paying me every month for something. It's also not a game that beginners can really easily get into, which I found like all my top students couldn't get into software right away because you need to cut your teeth in other industries first.
Cool question for you on that. From what you see on your vision, with the advancements of AI and coding and stuff like that, do you believe that more people are going to get into software, or do you believe that software is going to become so easy to create that it almost devalues it at a point?
Yeah, probably all the above. The excitement I have around it is that it's always kind of been the case that marketers rule the world. And it's always kind of been the case that the person that has the higher skill at marketing wins, not the person with the better product.
Totally true.
So what I see is that if people don't have fundamentally like just viciously skillful marketing skills, 15 people can make the same AI product.
Absolutely agree.
But the marketer will still rule the world.
Absolutely agree.
I'm not too worried about it because the skill of marketing. Now, if AI can out then market, then that's wild. I feel more optimistic than scared right now.
Oh, same here.
Yeah. I think AI is going to help the best people in the world just be even more devastating. That's what I think. I don't think AI is going to allow the average person to compete with the top. I think that AI is going to allow the top to just devastate even more, personally. And that's exactly what you're doing, actually. You're proving the point perfectly. Like, you're already a top 1% Facebook ad guy who's done all this, and now you're using AI to become godlike at all this stuff.
It's interesting you say that. I was talking to, I don't know if you know these two guys.
The point of the game is get really good at what you're doing and don't rely on crutches. So you can throw the crutches off. Because if you walk in with crutches, you're like, oh, well, now I get AI, I got crutches. You don't have crutches. Now you're a fighter jet F-18 instead of a 747.
I have these two friends. I don't know if you know them. You should. They're here in Austin. They're prolific writers. They've probably written 200 books between the two of them, and they have a huge writing guild that they do. When AI first came out, I sat down with both of them at the same restaurant, which is interesting, but 2 weeks apart from each other. They kind of diverged ways. They were doing different things. And one person's like, I'm like, what do you think of AI? And the one writer's like, man, can't write like me. But the research of and this is like a year and a half ago, right? He's like, the research, I wouldn't know anything about a 1942 submarine, that blah, 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 blah. Now I can write stories around it. Interesting.
Cool.
The second guy was like, I'm a great writer, dude, but I'm screwed. AI is going to pass me up so much. And he talked all about this fear. And I'll never forget this moment. I looked at him and I go, very much what you said. And I go, but what happens if you have a superpower and now it's just enhanced? He's like, well, I didn't think about it that way. And I'm like, what about if you ask these questions? Dude, 24 hours later, he sent me 5 articles he wrote with AI. Images is great with AI.
Way to go, dude.
He was so scared of, I think everyone's going to beat me. And I'm like, no, man, just like what you said. I feel like I've gone from a car. Like, I feel like I've actually gone from like a Ford Pinto to a fighter jet. Like, that's, as long as you can ask the right questions, there's not really a thick margin. So to dovetail this back in, I think the other software that I could help create would be like this bread and butter software. A lot of agency owners are struggling right now.
Is this the number two software to help media buyers?
Yep. A lot of agencies are struggling right now, but they still want to be proud to have $10,000 clients. But there's a lot of agencies out there too, where it's like, hey man, look, if I could pay you $1,500 for literally 10 minutes a day, I mean, I'm going to show you everything to do. I'll give you the clients. You literally just have to wake up, hit these buttons, double check that it works. That's, you don't have to create your own product. You don't have to do any of that. None of that. I've been talking to some agency owners, and some agency owners are like, yeah, I mean, and we can go through margins, whatever, but they're like, hey, if you set everything up for me, Curt, like you literally don't give me leads, you bring me customers. Yep. You have a quality control on it. Yep. You have almost an unlimited supply of customers. So when you look at it and you actually look at the end margin that most agency owners make, they're going to make a little bit less with me, but they'll make a lot more margin with a lot less effort because they're going to go through my AI stuff. So if I can incorporate, we have a special license with Go High Level. If I can incorporate some of the software in Go High Level, all of these people will resell our Go High Level services, and they'll stay in the ecosystem of the software that will go back to first software, help them launch ads for them or any of their clients, and a software that would help something like the project management and the communication of these certified media buyers. I think both could be really great assets for each other and independently sellable.
I don't understand the purpose of this software. How does the software work? How would it work?
So essentially we have Slack right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
To communicate with media buyers when we onboard a client, what that process is. And I can make a software that's so easy that it's like, hey, look, Dane, we're going to test your new offer with micro budgets. We're going to do this 90-day sprint. I'm going to have you log into the CRM, where it's going to take all of our documents and all of our information. It's going to condense it down to a GPT, and it's going to have these automated processes that right now is really manual.
Can I pause you a sec?
Go ahead.
Are you saying you want sort of like super niched project management software that specializes in media buyer project management?
For what the style that I have now, I think I can change the way that media buyers buy traffic and how we bring in clients. And we're not, because right now we're just a bunch of independent people on independent islands trying to figure stuff out.
Project management tool for media buyers.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Just putting AI into it to make them do the best practices.
The specifics around best practice.
I'll give you a great example.
SOPs being standard operating practice.
Yeah. I don't do any CRO, conversion rate optimization. I don't look like, I can look at a website and say, hey, Dane, I think you should change this headline, but I don't really do conversion rate optimization services. We have friends that do that. But now with AI, I've found these 6 GPTs that when I program in these 4 different prompts, I can just take a screenshot of your website and have 40 different ideas of what I can change on your website, ranked from the quickest thing I can implement with the highest impact to the lowest thing that I can. It would take me weeks to hire someone else to do this before. This is why the 90-day sprint, if I label things for people.
That's AI making the top godlike.
100%. So if I have processes of.
True. That's literally like you were top 1%. That's godlike.
Yeah. So to say this in a different way, this is why I want to talk to you. I already understand the benchmarks in my head. I understand my SOPs in my head. I already understand how these AI processes work in my head to flow. We already do it on our own, making great profit margin. So if I just added some software into the profit margin, I could get a lot more organized and scale a lot quicker. So it's not in my head. And that's what the main goal is with that second.
What's number 3?
It's much smaller. It's just like software to help people get started as they're analyzing their ads. So,
software to analyze ads?
Yeah. So for example, Facebook doesn't have a really good report that kind of gives you all the triggers you should be looking at.
What is it, software to analyze ads to do what?
So basically you would just upload your numbers and it would tell you what to do next.
Oh, and tell you what to do next. Okay.
Yep. Because people just don't like their numbers enough. That's why it didn't go well enough. But that was actually created.
It didn't go well. Why? Because people didn't want to put their numbers in?
People don't like analyzing numbers. So here's the way that we sold it. You're going to love this.
And all those people that don't like analyzing their numbers, what's the max revenue you've ever seen of a child like that?
I like to run ads.
They're children in business. They're literally refusing to grow up. They're like, no, I don't want to set up email capture because I want business to be my way.
Right. So for me, and I get this, I hear this a lot. There's not a lot of people that have the creative side of their brain that really works really well. And then the analytic side of the brain, it's usually 2 different people. I'm really fortunate. I love both sides of it. So for me, I like to launch a new ad idea because that's creative. I get to do my creative thing. And in the morning, it's like a kid unwrapping Christmas presents because I get to look at the numbers to see what works and what doesn't. And a lot of people miss that. So Mind Valley called me because they thought they had a problem with their webinar. It wasn't a problem with their webinar. It was actually a little before that because I knew where to look at the numbers.
What was the exact? Tell me the problem. Teach me.
Yeah, there's no proprietary information here. It's basically, long story short, is I have an analytic number that takes a look at the percentage of people who click on your ad versus actually hit your landing page. And sometimes because 90% of traffic is mobile, sometimes 50% or less of people will click on the ad to ever make it to the landing page because the page takes so long to load. So people are like, my opt-in page doesn't work anymore. People aren't registering anymore. They're not buying anymore.
Did you just increase the speed of the landing page?
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
Well, all you basically do is tell them, hey, did you know your landing page is slow? And they're like, that's not true. Well, here are the numbers. Less than 40% of the people who click on the ad are ever even seeing your sales page. If you go over to Google site speed, it says you get a D, says if you speed up these 5 things. And I'm literally like,
is that all you did?
I mean, they ended up doing it. We talked about some other ethical propaganda that I run, but that was kind of one of the major reasons I made the calculator, because they came in and they're like, hey, we think it's this one problem. Well, no, if you look at the numbers, it's actually this problem. And actually, one step further, a lot of clients, I had a couple of clients that used to argue with me about numbers because they're like, Curt, if the ads can get better. So I would create this calculator that says, okay, here are your numbers. You said the ads need to get better. So let's just say we double the performance of the ads. I'm going to double the number on the calculator. What happens to that number called a ROAS, the return on ad spend? What happens? Clients like, nothing. So I could show them it has nothing to do with your ads, man. It has everything to do with the offer. So the calculator helps people understand what to do next, but people don't like numbers. What to do next. It's red, yellow, green light. Upload your numbers and it's like, oh, this is what it used to be. This is what it could be. Here's the industry average. Just work on this one thing.
Okay. We've
much
got
more nuance.
Perfect, dude. We've got 3 things. Then you threw in much more nuance.
The thing is people still have to understand their numbers to see a red light, yellow light, green light. So if someone's like, hey man, I just spent $10,000 on Facebook. I don't know what happened. Specifically, did you have a good offer? I don't know. What happened with your number? I don't know. So even if I show them the red light, right, I got to explain why and what you have to do and blah, blah, blah.
Event once, and I was like 21.
That was great.
Yeah. And I was sitting on a table full of these guys who are in like 50s. Yep. And I was like, hey guys, what traffic source is your highest EPC, your highest earnings per click? And they're like, I don't know. And I was like,
how do you not know that?
What are you guys? And I know that more.
Yeah.
And my first mentor made me feel like a fool for not knowing data. And I was like, well, yeah, my EPC is like 56 cents on YouTube, but it's only 32 cents on Google. I was just curious what your guys are. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Well, so we have AI software, get entrepreneurs to get more leads and sales ready for online ads, 10 to 15 step process. We've got software to help media buyers, like a project management tool for media buyers with specifics around best practice SOPs. And then software to analyze ads and tell you what to do next. So those are kind of just 3 blanket, like, hey, if I was a genie and I could help you solve these problems, you would pay to solve those.
Clarify these 3 here real quick.
Okay.
The AI software to get people ready for ads. Call that number 1.
Yeah.
I have that built out in prompts and processes that just needs to be kind of put into a shell, like in Go High Level. So that's built out. It just needs to be updated for some of the AI stuff that's going on right now to built into the software.
Correct. Got it.
Software number 2. I have processes and I have AI processes strung together, but nowhere close to what I have built out for like number 1. Software number 3, I have a whole bunch of spreadsheets and trainings that are inside of Google Docs. So I have the numbers that could be fed into AI. Like you had always told me, hey, if you have stuff inside of Excel, it's pretty easy to turn into an AI or in a software. So I have one that's pretty much built out, but just hodgepodge puzzle pieces need to be put together. I have one that's just a big idea, blank slate. And then the third one is kind of the oldest software idea that I have on the numbers. And a lot of that stuff's built out in spreadsheets and trainings already, just not automated.
Well, yeah. I mean, my inclination on picking any of the 3 would be to actually kind of talk to ChatGPT a bunch around like, how long would it take to build each approximately, and what's the revenue potential and how quickly could it grow? And that's how I'd pick which one to do. There are probably people in the DICE community that actually would be more than game to probably partner and build this with you. And I probably would create like some matchmaking service where this can happen so people can stay in their zone of genius. My only requirement is for people in the DICE community, like a software developer, that they've done at least 25 DICE sessions, practiced.
Great. That's really great.
Yeah, because that way you'd have a developer that understands how to surrender to what's valuable.
Yeah.
Instead of building what they want. I've lost millions of dollars not surrendering to value.
I'm fascinated with language and labels and how it affects our brain. That's a really good label. Yeah.
And most of us are like, no, I want it to be my way.
Yeah.
It's just surrendering to what works. Like if you're an employee and AI is going to replace your job and you're like, no, I'm not going to agree to this. And then you just end up broke because you just didn't surrender to reality. Can you tell me, what are all the things you're going to need to do or you're doing in the before unit, what you're going to be doing in the during unit, and what you're going to be doing in the after unit for this opportunity? Let's just list out however it comes to you and tell me which category to
we'll
put
just go
it
through all
in.
three buckets.
Yeah.
Right. So bucket number one.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I do is I talk this through with my business partner that we transcribe the thing so we can put it into AI to get some opinions, and we create a GPT. So every time we have a conversation, we keep the conversation flowing, right? And it's basically tracked in a GPT. The next thing that I end up doing to
Did you just say every conversation with a customer becomes a GPT?
No, so my business partner, Nick, if Nick and I are talking about an idea and we're just having a conversation now, great. Now, if we start talking about, hey, this 10-week training, hey, I used to run inside sales for 15 years before I ever got online, so I can spit scripts and stuff off really quick. So when I'm ready to kind of be in that flow to talk about this one offer, he'll turn on the transcription, whether we're on Skype or whatever. So at the end of each one of the calls, he'll put it into a specific new GPT that basically says, hey, here's what our plan is. Here's our conversations that we're having to help structure out, like, what does this look like for the training, the structure, and stuff like that. So we've already had 4 calls to kind of flush that out. The next thing that I do,
4 calls to flush the idea out.
And have AI give us some feedback and some structure.
What else are you doing before?
Next thing I want to start to do is I want to start to get my language down before I make a pitch. So I'm going to call 4 or 5 of my smartest friends. So I've called a bunch of people that you know. Hey, man, let me flush an idea through you. Because what I'm really looking for is when people are like, oh my God, what I just heard you say was, that's not what I said, but I never thought about that. So I'll give you a great example is I called Elliot Pittman on this one. And I'm like, hey, Elliot, what do you think? He's like, how can I help? Because so many people call Elliot for like, let me ask you a favor, give me money. Hey, I want you to sell this for me. I'm like, no, man, I just want the way your brain thinks. So I tell him the way this whole thing works and how at the end of this, I want this to be a mastermind. And basically Elliot goes, oh, I don't want to have to go through your training and run accounts. Actually, you know what? I'll give you one of my junior media buyers that'll go through your training. I just want to show up to your mastermind. Oh, I was thinking about marketing this to agency owners. I wasn't thinking about this could be an extra income source for their employees and a way for the agency owner to be part of this higher end mastermind.
How is that a new financial opportunity? I didn't follow.
My thought was if I can be bread and butter for some of these agency owners, right, that maybe have 5, 6 clients, they can easily run my process a lot easier. And then selfishly, I want to do a mastermind at the end. So what happens is after the 10 weeks, you basically graduate at 3 different levels. You graduate with a silver certification. You can wear our badge. You're going to license our IP. We'll put we'll put that you are certified on our website for a year. You're on your own. Gold certification. You're going to pay us $500 a month or maintain 1 client account. And we have a virtual mastermind that we're going to meet once a week online. We're going to collaborate. We're going to talk about this. But selfishly, what I want to be in a room with 30 other media buyers who like really care about media. And we're not just talking about basic stuff. Like I want to do that with a room of 30 people. So when I was talking to Elliot, Elliot's like, well, I want to be in that room. I just don't want to do the work to get there. But if I have one of my employees go through your course, I can earn the higher end mastermind. My employee will make us extra money inside the agency for downtime. Oh, you mean I could sell this to agency owners to say, hey, supplement your income so you can join a mastermind that you don't have to pay 25 grand for up front. He's like, that's what I want. And I'm like, oh, okay, whole new market. Didn't even think about that. So I called 5 of my friends. I tell friends, I don't need your money. I just want you to do like what you do. And you're like, what I hear you saying is, so I call 5 of my friends for that.
Yeah. What's next?
Next thing that we're going to do is we're just working on who do we want to work with? So we made a post. We have a circle group that we have over 700 people who are studying our micro budget media buying stuff. So we figured what happens if we just put all of our conversations in a long form post that we had AI write to ask how many people would be interested in this 10-week program where we actually even pay you by the end of it for you to make all your money back within the 10 weeks. So basically what my thought is, and I think I'm going to raise this, but it's $4,000 to go through our training because we're not going to be a business partnership, but we're going to be partners in business. So this isn't a course, which I know you've taught courses before, like the one that you just taught, where it's like 8 weeks long. And by week 6, hardly anyone's showing up. You're pulling people over. They didn't implement. They feel bad. None of that stuff. This is within 2 weeks, I'm going to have you working on my ad account buying ads. And if you disappear, it's totally up to you. I'm going to keep the $4,000, right? If you disappear, it's up to you. But after you run my ads, I'm going to show you how to log into my other client accounts that are already spending big money so you can see how I'm doing it. And then once you pass kind of a certain qualification test of running ads for that client, then the next client that comes in for the 90-day sprint, they're yours. And I'll pay you $1,000 per month for each account you manage for the first 4. So literally you get one client the last 4 months, you just made your money back. You get, if I feed you 4 clients, and you can have as many as you can handle as long as you're ethical, moral, you're returning the client results, you're not causing any other problems, you're a part of our community, great. So kind of the thought of the process is, if we can get people performing consistently, we'll give them access to these masterminds. We'll give them access to this other stuff, because if I run all of the numbers, I'm still making double than what I would if I had employees. I'm probably not going to ever probably do more than 50. And I'm probably going to do a licensing thing that's 10 to 15 grand the next time that I do it, depending like if there's software and stuff like that involved. But there's going to be a capacity limit. So either you do it now, or you wait and the price doubles, or you wait again and there's just no more opportunity, because I don't want 500 people. So the first 10, we go over the webinar. I think that's pretty much all before, because during would be,
Okay, let's go to
we
during.
would start next week.
Okay, what's going to happen in during?
So during, what we're going to do is the first 2 weeks, we're going to show people how we onboard clients and the AI tools that we use. And they're going to get access to all of our other trainings. So what I used to do in these 10 weeks is like review some of the older trainings to make sure they're doing it. Now it's like, Dane, you're fully responsible. You already know how to run most of this stuff, but you need to dive in deeper if you don't understand it. I'm not going to hold your hand. And after 2 weeks, you're going to start running ads in my ad account, so we can get my ad account to $250 a day profitable with your ads. And then we'll graduate you to the next level. So step 1, I'm going to train them in the first 2 weeks how we do it. Week number 3, I'm going to give them access to my ad account. I'll give them the money. And we're going to start testing micro budget ads in my ad account to make sure that they're doing it right. So basically, I'd give you a login to my ad account. I would tell you how to run the micro budgets. I'd start you off at $40 a day. Make sure you set everything up right. Might as well have you do that in my ad account versus someone else's. Plus, if you're in my ad account, again, I'm going to get more leads anyway. So I'm just looking for, honestly, selfishly, I'm looking for 10 radically different ideas that are running my ads that bring in leads.
Strategy. There's like genius level strategy, and then there's like breaking the scale strategy. Yeah. What else?
So once they get up to $250 a day profitable in my ad account, then I'm going to put them into an ad account of one of our clients, so they can see how a big client's already working. And then I'll give them a slice of the client's budget, so they can help generate from $250 a day to $500 a day in profitable spend. So first in my account, they're going to do $250 a day in profitable spend. Next thing they're going to do is get into a client account, so they can see how it works in the real world too. They're going to get to $500 a day spend from there. And then level 3,
the $500 a day spend, they're also going to start making money there, a slice of the client's budget.
Right. And next part, level 3. Once you can get past one client account where you're spending $500 a day,
profitably,
take just a couple, like literally it could be 3 or 4 days in a row, you can start to see the trend. Then essentially what ends up happening is the next 90-day sprint client that comes in, you're going to be on the call with me, the entire thing. I'm going to show you how to do the onboarding. We're going to show you how to set up the GPTs. We're going to show you how to onboard the entire client. I'm going to be there the whole time. And I'm going to pay you $1,000 a month as long as we keep that client. I get paid $3,500. So I'm going to give you $1,500, and me and my business partner will split $2,000, and that'll go into marketing and everything. Sorry, I'll give you $1,000 for the first 4.
Okay.
And then after that, I'll pay you $1,500 perpetually. So during the goal is by the end of the 10 weeks is that they're managing a couple of different clients. We really kind of get in the flow of things. And by the end of the 10 weeks, it's like, okay, what my ultimate goal is how do I make this autonomous that people can enter at any time? And maybe we have a cohort where I onboard people for 2 or 3 weeks, but like getting into my ad account, other clients' ads accounts, like that should be able to flow independently outside of a cohort. So pretty much the wrap up of during is at the end of the 10 weeks, we sit down with an analyzation of, hey, what do we do next to bring this in on a perpetual?
How about in the after unit?
I think the after unit really comes down to just making it scalable with quality and integrity. Meaning like, dude, I've been doing this like 18 years. Our refund rate is like, for our digital products, is like below 4.5%. There's a lot of marketers that are doing 10, 15%. They're like, you're not marketing hard enough. Not part of my belief system. People talk about, hey, what do you get when you get chargebacks? We've had 3 chargebacks in 18 years. Like for a $47 product, it just doesn't happen. So what's really important is when people start running traffic, I want to make sure I have software that helps the standard operating procedures, the SOPs. I realized this a long time ago when we didn't get into this, but when I got sued by Facebook, as you know, and I got kicked off of Facebook for 3 years, what I found was my clients don't care about my employees' names. They care that I sign my name to it and then I'll do a good job for them.
My clients don't care
what my employees' names are. They care that I'm going to do a good job for them.
Correct.
So if I change 20 employees, as long as they don't see any fluctuation in their ad account, I don't care. So that's what I want with these people that come in. Hey, look, these people know me. It's my brand. So you're going to service them. You're going to reply back. I'm going to have a code of ethics.
Okay. So quality control system, control systems. So your
quality control and quality check.
So your brand stays top notch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quality.
I used to run call centers before I ever got into online. And one of the big things that I was taught when I started to manage people, I manage people from 100 people to 500 people to 800 people, follow up and follow through. I'm going to give you an instruction. I'm going to ask you how you did it. I'm absolutely going to double check to make sure what you told me you actually did. And then we're going to learn from there and move on to the next step. So when a business owner comes to me and says that their friend embezzled $1 million in their business, and they didn't notice it for a year and a half, and I'm like, you didn't do any follow-up? So it's foreign to me. But if I have some software that can do some follow-up checks for me, it makes it a little bit easier. I can check in. So I want to make sure I have that follow-up and follow-through with this type of agency software.
Is that the software number 2?
Software number 2, yeah.
Okay, so follow up and follow through.
Yep, are people doing what they said they're doing?
Software number 2. Are people doing what they said they are doing?
Yeah, because I think after then is fine-tuning at that point. It sounds like lots of people like the idea. I know I have lots of clients who are signing
When you
up for
say
90.
Fine-tuning what?
A process and procedures to make sure that it just runs smooth as butter.
What kind of processes and procedures?
Just to make sure that when we onboard a new media buyer and a new client comes in, that we dovetail in their communication so it doesn't look like there's any fallout whatsoever, and just make sure we fill the gaps of communication expectations.
You're talking about fine-tuning user journeys and continuing to improve them.
I would probably also say communication gaps.
Fine-tuning user journeys and constantly improving them, and then identify communication gaps?
Closing communication gaps.
Not identify.
Yep.
Okay, closing communication gaps. What does that mean?
Sometimes I feel it's like like when you watch a movie and you're like, this movie would have been over in 3 minutes, not 4 hours if they just would have communicated with each other.
Yeah.
So sometimes I find that in business, right? To where it's like, hey, how are your ads doing? It's not going so well. Why not? I'm not really quite sure. Has your media buyer checked in with you? No. Every 4 days we're launching new ads. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. You wouldn't know the expectations. Did your person follow up with you on Friday? Like when you guys have your follow-up Friday call? I didn't even know I had a Friday call. Okay. So if you know that ads are launched on Tuesday, you have your call on Friday and expectations are met and your person shows up, we're good to go. So a lot of times it's just, in my opinion, filling those gaps of just kind of an oversight from both people.
Could this be in this software number 2 that it sends out like an automated daily summary of everything that happened?
Absolutely. Like with all the data studios and stuff like that, people are visual learners. The biggest problem with ads when you hire a media agency, there's a ton of behind the scenes work. But since you don't know the experience and you don't know the work, you're just waiting for your first ad to go up. You don't realize that there's all this research and 20 different things I can go through.
Yeah.
So if there's a visual that I can send people that's like, hey, look at all the here are the 20 red stoplights. The 2 top are green. We're done with that. We're at yellow. We're a holding process because you need to look over your site. That stuff's highly beneficial. And that would improve the communication gaps, right? It's basically open kimono. Everyone knows what to do next. That's what I'm talking about, improving communication gaps. And I think that could help media buyers and businesses all over.
Okay, so let's go through on a scale of 1 to 10, how much you would be inclined to pay for help with. 1 is like, I don't want to pay for help at all. And 10 is like, I'd be super excited to pay for help for this. Sometimes when I do dice, I would just say on a 1 to 10, what's your level of pain with it? But what I started to find is people could have a pain level of 3, but they would still be open to paying for help with it. So I've changed the question from level of pain to which one you'd be most likely to want to pay for help with. Really interesting. So, and the before unit, we have, you spend 18 years figuring all this stuff out. I don't really think the question applies to that. But how about the combo with your business partner, 4 calls to flush the idea out, putting into AI for feedback and structure? Is there anything, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you pay to get more help with that?
0.
How about call 4 to 5 of your smartest friends and flush an idea out?
0.
Figure out who we want to work with?
0.
Create and present a webinar to pitch to interested people?
0.
Okay, and now we're enduring.
Yep.
The first 2 weeks to show how we onboard clients and the AI tools?
0.
Give access to ad account and give them my money to advertise my own account at $40 a day?
0.
Once you're at $250 a day profitable, put them in the ad account with our clients, give them a slice of the client's budget so they can generate more?
Yeah, 0.
0. Once you get past 1 client account spending $500 a day profitably, next 90-day client, you're on the call and set up the GPTs, and I pay you $1,000 a month as long as we keep the client.
0.
And then at the end of 10 weeks, analyze what we do next and make it perpetual.
That right there is probably a 5 to 7.
Okay, 5 to 7.
So basically what it is I don't really need anybody's help gathering the data, marketing it, running the cohort. I don't really need any of that. Once we've identified some of the gaps that we need, some of the what I call blocks, gaps, and barriers, right? Once we kind of identify these 3, then I absolutely want to pay somebody. I'm like at a 9 or a 10 to say, hey, look, I'm pretty sure I know what I want. I've already done the process. I just need help automating that process and then turning it into something that could be a third-party sellable asset.
Okay, so let's talk about after. So after is making it scalable with quality and integrity. Help on a scale of 1 to 10.
That would be a 9 or a 10.
Quality control and quality check for the brand to stay top notch.
9 or 10.
Follow up and follow through with agency software. Are people doing what they said they were doing?
Have like a dashboard of stoplights, like it's a 9 or a 10.
9 or 10. Fine tuning user journeys and constantly improving them.
That's a good 8.
Good
Right?
8.
I'd probably have somebody on staff that would just focus on that.
Okay. Identify and close communication gaps.
So that'd like an 8 as well too.
Okay. 8.
Right? Like an ongoing process that they're just constantly tweaking.
Okay, great. So in all this list, the one that I felt you the most was on this making it scalable with quality and integrity, quality control, and quality check for the brand to stay 9 or 10. And then this follow up and follow through with agency software. Are people doing what they say they are doing? Not only did you say 9 or 10, but you already started telling me the solution you wanted, which was not happening in any of the others.
Basically, we have
So let me ask you this. Is that the one you'd like to explore getting the most help with?
Yeah, and I think just to put a caveat on it, is we have a special licensing agreement with Go High Level where I have access to some really interesting engineers. Some of these engineers actually work in space programs and they do the engineering on the side, like they're total geeks about it, and really great support. So this would be built into Go High Level, the shell that we have in there. So just kind of as a caveat, people are going to join the incubator program. They're going to get a copy of their Go High Level. But if I can put this software and make it work inside of Go High Level, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay. Well, so let's do this. I want to do another before, during, and after, but much different on just this idea. You need the dashboard.
Okay.
Before, that might be a little overkill. So I'm going to see if we can solve the problem a little easier. We're going to go into, we've done discovery, right? D is discover. We're looking at the landscape of everything. We're figuring out where you need the most help. Now we're in I and innovate, which is this real simple dashboard to start with that's got your red lights and green lights on it. And we figured out that we want to innovate that. So let's go into C, create, and ask the create question for dice at C and dice, which is, what would the least this product need to do to be a valuable version 1.0 for you, to get it in your hands as quickly as possible? First is integrates with Go High Level.
Yep.
What do you want to see when you log in? What's the least this thing needs to do, but still be valuable for 1.0? And it's your dream.
Yeah, I'm stuck on number 1 is kind of the first software that I talked about, which is helping anyone get started for their ads. That can help lots of different people. The next thing that I think about though is what would help that 90-day, the cohort of people inside like the accelerator.
The 90-day sprint?
Would knowing
which people, the media buyers you're training?
The media buyers.
Okay.
What to do next. And that's number 3. That's like that calculator number 3, right? I think what it probably would be is to dovetail back to the software 1. Let me show you how to get people set up, because you got to get started to analyze the information. So thinking through it, probably the first thing that I'd want to do is create a customer creative brief for the Meta ad platform. So this is the 17-step or 15-step process that I already have. So it would basically put a skin on top of we call it AI ad craft. So it would help do, all the research on the market and the avatar and start writing some ads and stories and blog posts. Everyone needs to get started. So from what you had just said a little bit earlier is, it kind of takes it from, I don't remember your exact language from it, but it was kind of taking like a smart idea to just
breaking the scale.
Yeah, exactly. It's breaking the scale. That's kind of the concept that I'm looking for. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the least it needs to do, but still be a valuable version 1.0? Integrate with Go High Level, create a customer brief from the 15, 17 steps and prompts already in GPT.
I mean, honestly, I've had customers say, hey man, I've gone through this called AI ad craft. I've gone through AI ad craft and I now sell this as a $10,000 process to discovery customers. So if I could just get that done,
That would help me iterate. Okay, Dane, you ready to start running ads? Yes. So then I could do my own checks. Do you have the customer avatar created? Yep. Did you do the customer research, the marketing research? Like that could literally be a dashboard for me. For a perfect example, I brought on Dane as a media buyer. I matched Dane up with, let's just say, offer one. What processes has Dane done with this customer to make sure they've gone through those 15 steps? That would be huge. Just thinking through that. That's a really great question, Dane. That really helped me think through. That's really good.
The question is, but however we got to this answer, which is if I can log into the software, like you said, first thing in the morning, and I can see how many media buyers do I have, right? Got 10 media buyers. And I can see, okay, how many clients do they have? And let's just say they have 5 clients, just to make this up. Each one of the clients, I could see red light, yellow light, green light of what process they've completed in that first 15-step process.
So we gotta see how many media buyers you have, see how many clients they have, and then under the media buyers and then the clients and each client, you could see red light, green light, and yellow light across each of the 15 steps.
Yep.
And that would be the least it needs to do, but still be a valuable version 1.0.
So there's 3 things that we do for people in the 90-day sprint, right? Number 1, we build. That's like conversion rate optimization, ideas on around building the landing page and whatnot. That would have its own criteria, right? Test is we're going to test with micro budgets. So there's like 4 or 5.
Back up.
I love when you do this.
Okay, cool. Can you?
So it's important to recognize is when, let's just say a brand new 90-day sprint client comes in, right?
A media buyer or the client,
we'll talk about a client and media buyer.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say a new client comes in for the 90-day sprint.
Yeah.
And I match them up with a media buyer in that 90-day sprint. I'm going to be involved with 2. Okay. Now I want to follow up and follow through, like I mentioned before. So step 1 is build. We're going to go between, there's 3 phases in the 90-day sprint. Build, right? Are we actually building out your content, which I'm going to define more in a second? Test, are we testing micro budgets? And then the last step is scale. Did we get the client to $1,000 a day in ad spend? Right? So scale is the last part. We really need to work on the first 2.
Yeah. Phase 1's build, and that's the 15 to 17 steps.
Well, so let's say give you a perfect
you
example.
got to build out the ads and everything else too.
Yeah, because you don't know if someone brought their funnel, but all this work up front has to be done, and that's the 15 steps. So the very first thing that has to be done in the build is the first 15 steps. So if I know where each client's at, so I can say, hey, Dane, I see you haven't done a market analysis and research. Do you have any questions on that? It should be a green light that I can click on and see the creative brief for the research on the customer, right? Are you following this fit? So just doing those. So you have to do those 15 steps for every client that comes on, no matter what their experience, what their level, you have to do those first 15 steps.
Yeah. The client meets media buyer. There's 3 phases. Phase 1, build. First part of build is 15 to 17 step up front.
Yep.
Then if other stuff in build, then they get to test. They're testing micro budgets. Then they get through that. Phase 3 is, did they hit $1,000 a day profitably?
Yep. So part of the build, just to be clear, the first 15 steps is required for everyone. So then the next part of the build is, did a customer bring their own funnel?
And by the way, the specifics are where the profit is.
Totally.
Always.
Yep.
Profit is in specifics. So when someone's like, oh, I don't know the details, I run from those kinds of entrepreneurs.
Totally.
If I ever get an entrepreneur, they're like, I'm a big picture person.
I love that.
In my mind, I'm like, well, then you're a joke.
I love you. Thank you.
And
Same thing.
like,
when someone tells me that, how can you not know your business numbers?
Yeah. And I actually learned this from watching a Ty Lopez video. You know, so I got my judgments around Ty, but he was talking about the 3 richest people in the world. And they're all OCD engineers, Zuckerberg, Gates, and Musk. And they're OCD about details. He never hires big picture people. When he interviews people, he says, are you a big picture person or a detail-oriented person? If they say big picture person, he stops the interview. He only hires detail-oriented people. And he said, because the details where all the power is. And then I started paying attention to it. And I was like, you open up my software paperless pipeline, there's 1,000 details in that product for the reason that go into why it's so profitable for everybody. The details are where the profit is. So we have to become, so I was like, I used to think, oh, I'm the big picture person. I was like, no, I'm really passionate about details now because that's where all the power is. Anyway, when it's 15 to 17, is it 15 or 17 or is it 15 to 17? That's a very important specific. That's why I'm drilling in on it with you.
15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 15 steps up front.
So now do they bring their own funnel? Or so basically I'll step back. There's 3 things that we control during the 90-day process of this build, test, and scale. 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, creatives and audience targeting. That's what a media buyer can control.
Through all the 3 phases, right? Okay.
Yep.
You said media what?
So the first one is creative and audience targeting.
Audience targeting.
Right? Are they engaging with the ad? Are we targeting?
Yep.
Number 2, are they hitting the landing page and moving forward? Right? Like, do they go to add to cart? Do they opt in? Like, you have the second thing is we're going to work on the landing page.
Yeah.
And the third thing is if the ads are working and the landing page is working and no one's buying, that's the third thing is the offer. So when someone comes to us,
this is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Creative and audience targeting, audience visitors hitting landing page and moving forward, and then are they buying the offer?
I have something called a 3-level training. So here's the way that I think about follow up and follow through. Is number 1 is new client. We have a 90-day sprint client that comes in. We got a new media buyer that comes in. No matter who they are, no matter what funnel they have, no matter if they have an offer or not, you have to go through those first 15 steps first. So I want to see all the green check marks that you've gone through. It's kind of like when you take your car in for a 20-point inspection. It's kind of like that, right? That's step 1. Then step 2 is, okay, we got to look at the build. Dane, do we have to build a landing page for you? Like there are some processes that we just need to double check. If you bring your own funnel or I have our funnel, what do we do on this landing page specifically to make people move to the next step? So that has to be part of the process, and that changes a little bit per customer, right? Are you building it or slightly editing it?
So you got each client.
Mm-hmm.
Each client's going to have 3 phases: build, test, scale. And then also each client is going to have a separate 3 stages that go out through the other 3 stages, which are the measurement of the ongoing thing of creative and audience targeting, the ongoing check of if visitors are hitting the landing page and moving forward, and the ongoing check of if ads are working and landing page are working, but is anyone buying the offer? So you'll be able to see that juiciness. You come in, you see you've got 250 media buyers, and the 250 media buyers are managing 5 people each. So you've got like 1,250 clients they're managing.
Yep.
And you're like the captain.
Yep.
And you're seeing the 15 to 17 your green lights.
Yep.
You're also seeing which phase they're in. And you're also seeing which of the 3 states what would you so we got 3 phases: build, test, and scale. What could we call the creative and ad starting, visitors, landing page, and offer?
So I call those the 3 golden levers.
Okay. So 3 golden levers. Great.
Because so many people come to me and they're like, my ad sucked. Oh, really? This is my favorite word. This takes the emotion out of it and goes to the logic. Specifically, but once you hear me say this word, you'll never hear me unsay it with our friends. Specifically what? When I run your ads, there's only 3 levers that I can pull. If we're not getting people to click on the ad, it doesn't matter if they hit the landing page. If we get people to click the ad and they go to the landing page and they don't move forward, we know we got to fix the landing page. If all those things work and it still doesn't make any money, so here's the most important thing to understand. I'm going to give you one more word to add in here: pivot. So if you have a small pivot, we're going to change the headline on your website while we keep running ads. We're in the test phase. But if all of a sudden your opt-in page isn't working, we have to pause the ads and pivot in a big pivot. And we pause the ads and go backwards to the build phase. So I need to know, did you go through the 15 processes to set your client up? Yes, I did. What process are you in? Are you in the build or test phase? Because if they're in the scale, it's completely different. Where are you at in the build and the test? Curt, I'm in the build. What's your next step? Well, Curt, the opt-in rate is below 30%. And according to the software, I need to up the opt-in rate to 35%. I'm going to change the 3 headlines. I'm going to change the colors. We should be ready to go in 3 days. I'll check back in 3 days. That's what I'm looking for between build and test, because you're constantly moving back between those 2.
So in the 3 golden levers, each would have a metric and an action based on what the metric is.
I have all the industry metrics that I can put in. This is where my calculator comes in and literally tells you what to do tomorrow.
Okay. So I think we've got the least it needs to do to be valuable version 1.0.
Yep.
It's going to integrate with Go High Level. It's going to create a customer brief from the 15 steps you've already got the prompts for.
Yep.
You're going to be able to see how many media buyers you have, see how many clients they have. You're going to see each client with red light, green light, or yellow light across each of the 15 steps. You'll be able to click into each section to see the work that was submitted for that step. When a client meets a media buyer, there's 3 phases: phase 1 build, phase 2 test, phase 3 scale. For phase 1 build, you're doing the 15 steps of the upfront work and then the ad creative and audience targeting. Okay, then ad creative and audience targeting. Then for phase 2, you're going to be testing. It's either micro budgets or it's one of the 3 golden levers.
Yep.
Test actually really fits the 3 golden levers. So the 3 golden levers do they fit into test really well?
They're perfect because you know exactly what to do next.
Okay, so the 3 golden levers work in test here. Great. And then phase 3 is now scale. Did we hit $1,000 a day profitably?
Then we hand that off to the big ad agency. Yep.
And does the client lose?
It's funny because we talked about this. So I think what's going to happen is I think we have a conversation with the client and with the media buyer where it's like, hey, look, Dane, this is somebody that wants to spend $50,000 a day. Do you want that responsibility? If you can handle it, it's great. Maybe you pass it off to the agency and I pay you a 3-month, I pay you $3,000 for the 3 months, but something where it rewards you because you got to them. I don't want to feel like I'm taking away clients, but that's a really good question. So one of my friends asked me, that's why I call my 5 friends, right?
Yeah.
One other quick note, and this is probably a part of 2.0. So here's my limited belief system. I used to work with Facebook APIs, and on my birthday, like 8 years ago, I had social.com that was owned by Salesforce take like $45,000 from client accounts and spend it recklessly on Facebook ads. And I'm like, I just don't want to work with the API with Facebook. I've had way too many other problems. I don't like the interfaces with Facebook. Facebook has no customer service. So kind of a 2.0, if I could pull in API data, just the ad stat data. So I'm actually going to tell the story a little different way. I create something called the Golden Ad Report, because Facebook doesn't have a good report to read from left to right to know which one of the 3 levers to pull. So it takes me time to train someone on how to set up the report. Then it takes me time to train the person to read the report. Then it takes me time for the person who set up the report to read the report to know what to do next. If we pulled in the numbers of the ad campaign and pulled it into Go High Level, it would actually have, here's exactly what you do next. And I could skip those 3 steps with people. So with 2.0 is if I could pull in the ad account data, I could give instant recommendations in the software of what to work on next on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday.
Great. I appreciate you mentioning it in 2.0 because it could potentially sneak into 1.0. Do you have a hard stop?
Nope.
Let's talk about,
as long as they still serve breakfast tacos next door.
I want to talk about moving into enrollment on like how you go about valuing this and what would be a fair price for everybody involved so this would be mutually beneficial for everybody. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I don't have any idea how to price this. I don't know how to work with other people. I don't know what the agreements look like. And I don't know how to manage or inspect these people. And that's what I paid you to learn from was like, I like your, I think what the biggest value I got from you is you going through your question and answer session. So I was really excited when you said we're going to do this here.
Yeah.
So that was super valuable. But then the next thing is I know people throw a bunch of money into software, they just burn it and they don't know how to set expectations. So that's the other thing that I still need to go through your recordings to really understand. How do I start talking to the right people and manage expectations? Because if I've never done it, I don't know how to manage it.
Yeah, well, you may not actually, depending on your desires, you may not have to like waste time on any of that because we could just do this for you and you can stay in your zone of genius.
That's what I'm looking for, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk about, in terms of price, first I just want to figure out what it would cost you not to do this.
Yes.
So let's look at that at the acronym TIMER.
Okay.
Which you probably know Travis Sago.
Yep.
Right. So I've learned this from Travis Sago. It's the best way to figure out what a fair price would be is to figure out price isn't what you would pay. Price is everything it would cost you not to do it. And everything it would cost you not to do it across a category called timer.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think this would cost you on a monthly basis in time if you didn't have this?
Well, the problem is now I just click on 12 different other things to do it on my own that's all strung together. So if all these different 12 things update, I have to change my process and procedures. So like, it's like one person trying to do 12 different things at once.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible, like I can continue to do it, but it's a pain because I'm not able to scale. And really with the right person, this just collapsed time. If I'm going to 16 different places to do 16 different actions, if I can just go to one place, one action, it collapses my time. That's the biggest thing. Like at the end of the day, the reason I want to do this whole thing is I just showed you pictures, on break, is I got a 2-year-old daughter that like working 70 hours a week is totally fine for me. But now that I have a family, it's not. So I got to find out kind of the other ways. And that's what I'm really looking for. This will help me analyze data faster. So yeah, if not doing it is being chained to a chair for 14 hours a day. Doing it is having the autonomy not to.
Okay, how about next for I is identity. Let me just ask you the question and see what comes up. I'm not sure. What would it cost you on an identity level?
So I think I understand the concept of the question.
I'm not sure.
I think I do, because there's always ego and stuff that we're creating and stuff like that. So for me, I have an ego because I like to stand on stage and I love the attention. But I also know that I am totally fine not driving around a Lamborghini. So when I kind of think of my ego kind of tied to this and my identity, this is something that I could sell for a multiple in 18 months. I couldn't do that with any of the other businesses that I mentioned. So as an identity, to me, is like, if this is the one thing that I could work on because it becomes sellable and licensable, that really moves my personal goals ahead a lot versus all the other things that we've talked about. So when I think about identity, I think about my long-term goals, and the way that this relates to my long-term goals is a pretty big win.
Yeah.
It's something I've never worked on before that could be sellable like this. This could be almost like a Jasper, to where it's like, I'm not saying it'd make that much money, but maybe it's so sexy that someone buys it in 18 months. I'm super excited about that. And if we could do this longer term, where I have not employees, but partners that I work with, I'm happy with that as well too. But like, I don't want a Cole Gordon business where I have thousands of people going through this. I want to have a little bit more where, like you say, sometimes you get bored. I want to be bored.
Yeah. What would it cost you in money not to do this?
I just think this is as I mentioned before, I used to manage over 400 people in a call center, and managing that many people, taxes, liabilities, blah, blah, blah. I always wanted to be the boss, and then I realized I didn't. This was something that I've dreamed of, that I think I can make money with people that I like to make money with, and I can have a compound effect without having employees. So this is kind of one of those things where I think it's a big idea that I can run with, that I personally would be really happy with. Not have a constraint of an office, not have a constraint of employees, not have a constraint of like, I have to do this, but like, I get to do this. And then
That's good.
like the masterminds and stuff like that. That's really important to me. Dane, I want to have, and you're really good at this, is why I love having you as a friend. I want to have deeper conversations with people versus less conversations that are more shallow. So my ultimate goal helps my identity. If I can do these masterminds once a quarter, like that really helps me dive deep with people. I think we all grow together. And that's basically my main goal. I don't want a bunch of liability. I want a bunch of partners.
What would it cost you in energy not to do this?
So the thing is again, just to be very open with you, is we're at a 90% plus profit margin. Well, that's because it all comes from my brain, and I work 7 days a week, sometimes 12 to 14 hours a day. So I have no problem waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and working till 10. But it's not sustainable. It shows up in my health. It shows up in my other activities, spending time with friends. The last 4 years, I've just been so heads down on stuff. It's like holding your head underwater where you come up for breaths of air, but the waves are still kind of flopping over you. And then all of a sudden you find some sand that you can stand up on, and now the water's at your knees, and you're like, oh my God, this is the easiest thing to do. Now I can almost run. So I feel like I'm almost about ready to run because I figured a lot of this stuff out. And now I really want to sprint, if that makes sense.
And what would it cost you in your reputation in the market and in the world not to?
It's so funny. I was talking to our friend David Gonzalez the other night, and I was telling him stuff that's going on, and he's like, damn it, it's been long enough. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, I know you've been struggling the last couple of years. I just didn't want to say anything. And I'm like, yeah, us men, we just have a knife in our back, walk around. People can see that there's a knife. We don't need any help. We're totally fine. And I'm like, we're talking about a 4-year span where, like, of course I wanted some help. But so for me, this is one of those things that, like, Dane, you've known me long enough, is when I first started running Facebook ads, because I was one of the first people that started to run it, I got invited to all the rooms. But then if I don't have a converting digital product offer, like over the last 3 or 4 years, it's like you have a hit song as a singer, then you go on tour the next year, and then people remember your song the 3rd year. And then by the 4th year, if you're not producing a new song, hey, whatever happened to that guy? And I was on year 4. So now this, for me, is this new offer in my micro budgets. It's a whole new breath of life. So I'm actually making more money now than what I said I did in 2014 at my height before I got sued by Facebook. So this ties into identity, long-term growth, compounding money very quickly.
Yeah, it's a whole new breath of life and a whole new way to show up around your friends.
Love you. Yeah, 100%. Like 2 years ago, my girlfriend's like, well, you got to have a bunch of friends for your birthday. And I looked at her and I'm like, nope. She goes, why? And I go, I'm fucking embarrassed. And I started crying. And she goes, what do you mean? She goes, your friends still love you. I'm like, I don't want to show up like this right now. Like, I'm just not in the right space. And now when you walk into a room where it's like, hey man, how things going? I have over 6 figures in my fucking checking account. Like, we have to hire more tax accountants to figure out how to spend the money. 4 years ago, I'd be walking into a room, people like, man, Curt, you're rocking and rolling. Yeah, dude, before I had a daughter, before I had more drive, right? Just one of those things like, I just want to go fucking show everybody.
Now you want to go and show everybody what?
Look what we're doing now. It's kind of like, I felt like Al Bundy for a while. Remember the good old days when we used to, and we've had friends that like have made it before and they've never made it back. And they constantly talk about what happened. And I'm like, man, I'm smart enough. I know I can do this. One of the reasons I bought your trainings, because you would follow up with me and be like, how much money have you made for other people? Damn it, Dane. I just,
Yeah.
right. Because I was always the guy in the room before. And then a bunch of newbies came out and made a whole bunch of money and they really created a great a name for themselves. And then as everything kind of fell apart in 2020, everyone was kind of figuring stuff out. And there were some big people that took off, whatever, Sam Evans, whatnot. But now things have kind of come full circle. And dude, some of the clients that I lost 5 years ago are coming back in big strides. We're working with bigger celebrities, bigger names. It's just like, you know how it works? Sometimes it's this big momentum. All of a sudden you're like, man, I don't know how I'm going to make it. And then 4 months later, it's like, oh my God, I had no idea that things could change so quickly just by implementing some small things.
Now it's my turn.
Yes, sir.
That's
again.
Now it's my turn again.
Yes, sir.
So let's just wrap up with the 3 questions. If you could pay, let's just say if you could pay and this thing would just be done with as little stress on your part, you get to stay in your zone of genius. The whole thing's built for you, this dashboard, everything in this least version 1.0. Given that timer cost, what price, and there's no wrong answer to this because it's really personal to you, what price would be so high that you're like, no way, it's out of reach to build this? Where you stay in your zone of genius. What price would be so low where you're like, I'm not sure if that's going to be valuable? And what price would be in a sweet spot for you where you're like, dude, I would be all in on that. I'm taking this serious.
Question for you on this, just a clarification question.
Yes.
So is this like, hey, Curt, you're going to pay one fee and this is all created?
Yes.
Or is it like, and this is not a partnership? Or is it like, hey, there could be a partnership along the way?
Well, for time's sake, we could explore different kind of price things. Partnership, there are options. Well, we could do this option would be, it's just built for you, no partnership. We could also discuss different kind of pricing options.
So like when I think about this, the initial gut response, right?
Yeah.
If you were to say, hey, Curt, it's going to take $100,000 to build, I'd be like, oh, I know it's worth over $100,000, but my cash and my runway and my time to implementation, probably outside of my zone. And if you're like, hey man, this is 40 grand and I'm pretty sure we could have it done in 12 weeks or pretty close to. So by the time that your first people are coming out, you're going to have a management software to put your second group of people through. Well, by the time I would put that second group of people through and I raise my prices a little bit and I have some software around it, that second cohort would pay for that. So like in my mind, I'm kind of justifying of like, well, if I do the first one with 10 people, there's 40 grand, but I still have expenses there. But if I know how to ask the better questions and someone shows up for the second cohort and they're like, hey, Curt, I think I could do this for 40 or 50 grand. The first cohort should already have some clients that are paying for some residual. The second cohort should wipe out and pay for that software. I don't know about software, especially with AI. Every single day there's something that comes out new. And we have some friends that we were talking with at the David Gonzalez's mansion where they talk about, using AI to implement a lot of automations. And what their business is all about is how to automate business. But if there's a better AI that comes in, well, they'll just hook it into the platform. You don't know in the background. So then I think about partnership where I'm like, hey, I can sell a bunch. So if someone's willing to be paid less now and they want a small percentage as we move this, I don't care what AI you're plugged into. But if you on the back end are some kind of geek who's like, oh, I love this AI, let me plug this in here. Sure, whatever, dude. As long as you make it work and people log in and I can see this dashboard, I am happy to split the revenue through that. So yeah, and if it was like, hey, Curt, I think we can build this for under $5,000, I'd go get the cash right now. I'd give it to you and I'd say, take my money. If you said this could be built under $1,000, I'd almost wonder like, is this too easy that people would find value from it? The thing that I'm always amazed about, I love to speak on stage. And so many times I show up in front of a room, just I'm sure like a lot of other people do. And it's like, man, I don't know what I have to share is going to be valuable. And I think some of the simple stuff that I'm doing, people are like, oh my God, that's amazing. So when I think about what are the simple things we can do with the software, I bet there's probably stuff that's simple that we could do for low cost that would blow the minds of what we're looking to accomplish to do here. So yeah, 100 grand is probably between 40 to 50 grand sounds about right. And if it's $2,000 or $3,000, I might be a little skeptical, but maybe there's just some easy solutions that people would want to join this for.
What I'm so excited about this is just showing people that price can be a discussion and it can be done with a lot of generosity and felt in both people's hearts.
Mm-hmm.
As you were talking, I was like, well, I'd really want to try and figure out to come up with like a dream come true price. So, maybe it's just a certain amount a month with the 40K cap at the most, right? And we just try, but then it's also done with some sort of partnership perspective where maybe we share a little bit of the risk, but we get a share in the long-term reward.
Like, I'm totally happy of like, you never know if you're going to sell the software, but it's like, hey, by the way, if you do end up selling it, if you take on another partner, there's all these different profit triggers that you can put in there that make it really rich for someone. Like we have a client right now who they have a really strong growth business, but they're not going to sell it. They just want to bring in as much cash.
For time's sake, I might miss my flight.
Oh, yes, sir. So we'll get out of here.
We do need in. But one other potential pricing model is we could build it at our cost. So I do everything I could to keep it at cost, but then we would just get paid for every user you bring on.
I love that too.
Right. And so, but there's just a lot of ways we could skin this deal. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yeah, thank you. Great questions. I always love your questions. Yeah.
And thank you guys who've been hanging out. Please feel free to ask any questions in Slack. And dude, love you with all my heart, man. It's been great to be in this life with you.
You too. Great questions, my friend. Great job.
Yeah.
It was great. I don't like really surface level conversations. You always ask deep, great questions. So I always love hanging out with people that ask good questions. And these are great questions. So yeah, good job. Thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Love you.
Love you too. See ya. Bye, guys.